Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share a couple of examples from my own life of how synchronicities have been openings for change and have been opportunities. And I'm doing that so that it can reflect back to you how this may be happening in your own life. Okay, that's the beauty of sharing stories like this with each other, is that we can see our own experiences in new light. And what I really want you to do is to start to think about synchronicities when they occur as obviously not random. And I'm not suggesting that every synchronicity has deep meaning, but what I want you to do is just to take stock, to pause, and to see life through slightly new eyes, fresh eyes, and eyes that are a little more curious and questioning and pondering possibility, okay? And that's how you're going to see openings for change, okay? That's how you're going to see synchronicities and as opportunities when it is divinity calling you forward, okay? I like to think of synchronicities as providence, so the hand of the universe, or the hand of God opening energy and supporting you, like beckoning you forth, like tap, 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 come on now, get out of your head and look at what's happening here, and allowing us to, I guess, be snapped into a new way of viewing a situation, not just with our logical mind, which is what we're so conditioned to do. Okay, so the first example of synchronicity that I want to share with you is from around about 9 years ago, I think it was, and I started working in a new industry in human resources and recruitment consulting space, and I did that for about 7 years. But the first few years that I did that, I was pretty good at it, and I got into my kind of routine with it. But I knew, even though I was quite successful at it, I knew underneath that it wasn't something I was going to be able to do long term. And I knew that because it didn't light me up. So I couldn't see myself doing that for another 10, 20 years at all. And so in my mind, I'm kind of trucking along and I'm just doing it and I'm being good at it, and people are like, oh, you're really good at it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I'm making the money and I'm doing my thing. But in my mind, it was like there was a brick wall here, and it was like I can't see past that because I don't see myself in my vision on the other side of that. Like it felt like a block, and logically I knew this wasn't the path. Now here's the synchronicity. At the very same time that realization is happening, I have got multiple people from different areas of my life all saying to me, you'd be really good at leadership. You're really good at coaching. You should be a coach. Oh, you should be managing staff and guiding staff. That would be more where you're at. And underneath in my head, I could see the logic of it, but I was like, no, it's not for me. Don't want to do it, too much responsibility. I resisted it. I didn't really want to step into it, because when I do something 150%. So if I was going to start it, I wasn't going to step in and dabble my toes and then step back out. I wanted to know if I was going to get into it, I was going to go full into it and really commit myself. And so I was too scared. I was like, I can't do that. And so I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to sit here with this brick wall and all these people saying, give it a go, give it a go. One of the people that said leadership is an area for you and look where you can be stepping into leadership was a spirit channeler. A complete random stranger that I went to and had a spiritual session said, I want you to think about ways that you can be more of a leader in the areas of your life. Where can you provide more leadership? I had friends saying to me and family saying to me, you really would be much better if you stepped into a leadership role. And resistance is what came from my logical mind. But here's the thing, is that when you see a block in one area and then an opening in another area, it's no mistake. And multiple synchronicities there, all coming from different directions of my life. My boss, a spirit channeler, friends, family, all people saying the same thing: leadership, staff management, coaching, leadership, coaching. And so eventually I did pay attention and I did notice that was quite a clear calling forth, a closing down of one path and an opening up of another. And I did do that, and I did do that quite successfully. And it did turn out that despite what my logic and fear and wanting to run away from that was going on in my head, trusting synchronicity was the right thing to do, because it ended up being excellent for me at all levels, and it made me sing. And of course, it set me up in an unfolding into the skill set I needed to do what I now do, which absolutely I adore. So see how synchronicity will call you forth in the direction that is going to serve you best. Now, the other example I wanted to share with you is an example around kind of career, love, relationships all rolled into one. Okay, and when you're listening to these examples again, it's not about my story. It's about how is that reflecting to you something about your own life. Okay, so from the story I just told you and the one I'm about to share, how does that mirror experiences you've had or are having right now? Or if you get stuck and you're not sure where you're going with a particular area of your life, pay attention to where life might be opening up and where you might be called forth and what might be going on around you. That could be providence, could be synchronicity, could be the universe opening up and calling you forth, going tap, 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 pay attention. Or brick on the head, pay attention, come on over here. Okay, so the other example was from about 13 years ago, and I was in an executive support role as a EA for a chief executive of a really big company, okay, and I'd been doing that. That's all I'd done all my career up until that point. And the guy that I went to work for, very soon after I joined the company, decided he was going to leave and he was going overseas, and I'd gone to work for him, and it was highly likely that my job was going to be gone very quickly, because either the new person coming in wouldn't be necessarily a fit for me or me for him, or the new person would bring his own person in to support him. So I was at a position where I thought, okay, what's going to happen? I was kind of in a flux, and there was a lot of uncertainty for me about what was going to be happening. So I'm sitting there typing away at my desk one day, and the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and it's an old boss of mine from some time ago saying, one of my staff members has just left, my office and event manager has left, and I need to find someone. Do you know anyone in your own networks who could do this job? I'm networking to try to find someone. And I said, no, sorry, I don't. I'll let you know if I think of anyone. Good luck with that. Hung up the phone and turned around and went back to my work. So I'm tapping away. And it was like a little light bulb went off, and it was like, tap, tap, tap. I was like, I wonder if that actually was synchronistic. I wonder if that, I've got possibly no job, and this person's calling me saying, do I know anyone for this job? The thing was, my logic was getting in the way. My logic was like, no, I'm working in a really big company, and I'm in this type of job, and this is what I do, and this is what I'm good at. And this other job was in a tiny little company. It was in like a little entrepreneurial kind of startup. It wasn't kind of the zone that was on my radar. It was doing a job I'd never done before. I didn't really know anything about event management. And you know what? I just sort of thought to myself, that could be an opening for change, could be an opportunity. Maybe that's not synchronistic. Maybe it is synchronistic, and maybe synchronicity has meaning, is what I mean. So I went and I had a coffee with him. I called him back and I said, you know what? I do know someone who could probably do that job, and that might be me. So I went and had a drink with him. We talked about it, and you know what? What was logic and fear and confusion all kind of blocking me from actually acting upon that originally, as soon as I got in front of the opportunity and heard the details, it was like, oh wow, this could be something really awesome for me. Now the flow on thing to understand is that if I had just blocked that off and not taken pause and taken stock and thought, I wonder if that synchronicity has meaning for me and there's an opportunity there, I would have missed out. And what unfolded was, working in a small business and an entrepreneurial startup gave me the skills to contribute to my overall knowledge that helped me start this business. Pinch me loving. The business I went to do event management for was an educational company, and I needed that event type management experience for this type of company that I'm running, and I now draw upon that, which helped me. So it helped me into the unfolding of what I believe to be my real purpose and my real soul calling. And number 3 is, a couple of months after joining that company, we hired a new staff member, and that man ended up becoming my husband, and 11 years later we're still together. So one phone call from a moment where I'm too busy typing on my keyboard and thinking about worrying about my job being gone, and then synchronicity turns up, and you've got to listen when it taps on your forehead or knocks you over the head with a brick. You need to stop and think, is this an opening for change? There are so many times when synchronicity has occurred like that. I could list off another 5 or 6 examples that have been profoundly life-changing, like have totally shifted my whole trajectory in my career, my health, my relationships, finances, everything. So I want you to think about your own life. Now take my stories, set them aside, ignore them, and take the learning that is within them and say, where does this apply in my own life, and how might I be open for new change, new opportunities and new trajectories because of the way that life is calling me forth with synchronistic openings. So I hope this has been helpful. If you're listening to me on YouTube, please do subscribe to my channel so I can share more information for living mind, body and spirit connectedness and unleashing your inner peace, freedom and success. If you're here on my website, do subscribe to my email so that I can send you those regularly on a weekly basis. And it's been such a pleasure sharing with you. I look forward to staying connected.